Hi, it's Amy and Tim, and we are back with our series, How We Retired in Our 40s, Part 15. I think we're going to be 50 I think we're going to be in, maybe we'll be 60 by the time we finish this up. But what we're going to be talking about today is a question that we are asked all the time, at least every week, if not many times a week. And that is, what on earth are you guys doing for your health insurance? So I'll let you get going with that.
Yeah, so when we decided to take the leap into retirement, there were two major risks that we faced. And so the first is, and I think the first is market risk. So the vast majority of our money is in the market. So if the market goes in half, what is that going to mean to us? And so we could certainly survive that, and we would make the assumption it's going to come back. And the second major risk is that what are we going to do with healthcare? So healthcare is, in terms of line items in our budget, is I think our number 2.
Insurance is a big one. Just the umbrella of insurance is what we spend more money on than anything else. Insurance.
So health insurance and just taking care of our health is something that is an unknown quantity.
That's health insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, property, and whatever. Like a lot of insurance.
Most of those other insurances have some known element. So they go up a little bit every year, maybe 10% a year. With health insurance, it just seems complete. We just don't know. When we left our work, we had the ACA, and so as it existed back then, and for us, that seemed like it was going to, at least it provided us something we could budget around.
And so it was decent coverage.
It was the coverage that we had that's the same as we have now. So
I don't think so.
It's identical. And so we...
I don't think so. I can't use the doctors I used to use.
I guess the network has changed
some.
The
network has totally changed from all my doctors to none of my doctors.
The coverage that we have is identical, meaning that we have an HSA-qualified plan, and an HSA is an amazing vehicle for saving for health things that are going to happen in the future, and you can also use it for other reasons. There's a great article that the Mad Fientist put together. Amy will link to that in our show notes. That talks about some of the advantages of having an HSA. But anyway, so the plan that we have is an HSA-qualified plan, so it costs a little more. We buy it off the exchange, and so the Colorado Exchange, and every state has their own independent exchange. And so our plan comes with a $6,000 deductible per person. So in other words, if we had a bad year, it could cost us up to $12,000 to blow through the deductible. And then we pay about $350 a month for our coverage, and that's subsidized based upon our income. And so
so anyway, so health, that's what we do for our health insurance. We are using a company called, it's not a national company, it's called Bright Health. We used to use Cigna. The Cigna plan that we used, they still are on the ACA Cigna, but they totally changed networks, and so a fairly comprehensive network that we had is no longer offered. So I've had 2 doctors for 15 years that are kind of like annual exam doctors. They are no longer offered by this insurance, and the only place that I could possibly go to these doctors was if I signed up for Blue Cross Blue Shield, which cost, I believe it was almost $4,000 more. I think it was something like so much. I think it was $4,000 over and above what we had ultimately gone with, which was Bright Health. And I think we're kind of getting what we pay for with Bright Health, because when we are calling primary doctors to try to get a physical and get a doctor, they're not taking new patients. So we've made several calls. We haven't found a doctor yet. If something like we're pretty careful, obviously, with our money, but this one thing we're a little bit like open.
Yeah, and
that's scary.
So the coverage itself, so the deductibles and all the sort of the metrics that you would look at when you're coming up with a plan, between Bright Health and Cigna, they're identical, like I said.
Yes.
However, the difference is, and what Amy's bringing up is a very valid point, is that the network is much different.
Smaller,
Bright Health
I guess.
Is smaller, and so there's fewer
doctors. I don't
doctors
think there's anyone in it.
That's right. There's 2 doctors in Colorado. So it's hard to find care.
We haven't worked that hard,
and
so we've been healthy, knock on wood. But and also what we learned is that when you're going through the ACA, that you are not covered out of state for anything.
That's right.
So we travel a lot. We wouldn't expect to be covered out of the country if we had kind of more traditional insurance. However, it was kind of news to us back in December that we aren't covered in California or in any other state that we're visiting. That is very scary. So we need to figure this out. So with this in mind, we have taken several trips to countries that are expat, almost like expat havens. So did you know that Mexico, this makes sense, is the first largest place for Americans outside of America. And so it's the biggest community of expats in the world. And Mexico is actually pretty awesome. We're not talking about like just resort Mexico, but we have visited Mexico City, which we love Mexico City. If you haven't been to Mexico City, it's kind of like Manhattan, but like a quarter of the price. So we felt very safe. We had food that was extraordinary. The culture is superb. The history and all the UNESCO World Heritage sites that are very significant are rock solid.
Yep.
So
there are places in Mexico City that you would want to go to, just like there are places in New York City that you may not want to go to. The nice thing about international destinations is the State Department will actually tell you, like, here's a
stay away
neighborhood,
from this
stay away
area.
from this place.
Yeah.
So you know where not to go.
Yeah, and then we also in that kind of time period that we're talking about chronologically, we're talking October of 2015. So we took a 12-day trip. I think it was half to Mexico City and half we took a 4-hour bus even more inland, which Mexico City is very much inland to a colonial town by the name of San Miguel de Allende. And this was rated the #1 city to visit a couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago, by Condé Nast Traveler. So it has since had a lot of acclaim. That's how we learned about it, so we can't poo-poo that too much. But it's it's a big artist community. There is an enormous amount of expats there, and it is gorgeous. If I say the food is great in Mexico City, which it is, San Miguel is like a whole other level of food. So it has amazing food from all over the world, which is really kind of surprising in the middle of Mexico.
And because of all the expats there, when you're there, there's so much to do. It's almost like you're on a cruise ship when you're
There's
there.
like activities galore.
Yeah.
You could go have seminars and films and lectures and music and yoga and meditation and food cooking and walking tours, and it's incredible. And so it was really nice. So we want to make this very clear. We love America. We want to stay in America. We're not looking to be expats. That's not our goal. We like to travel, but we love Colorado specifically. So, however, we aren't looking to go back to work. So if health insurance becomes a big enough problem for us, we will need to consider other places. And what we are looking at are countries that are no more expensive than America because our money wouldn't go very far. So Mexico qualifies. So here we have this lovely trip to Mexico and kind of suss out, would this be a place we could live? As much as I enjoyed visiting Mexico City, I don't know that I'd want to live in Mexico City because I lived in Manhattan for 9 years. I had the hustle and bustle. I'm done with the intense hustle and bustle for a lifestyle. But San Miguel, I would love to be living there for 6 months a year now. And so I miss it, and I wish that it was easier for us to access. But check it out. Actually, maybe I'll put a little link in the notes too. I'll make sure I type out that name because it is a really special place.
Yeah, there are also some other options that we're looking at here in the States, and so these faith-based plans that seem to be very affordable.
So we're looking into that for next year.
That's exactly
yeah.
right.
So we see that we've went a little long. So we're going to cut it short. We're not going to cut it short. We're going to say goodbye. Please give a thumbs up if you like what you see. Sign up, subscribe if you'd like more. And if you do leave any comments, please. So I don't know that we can answer any questions because this is a big, like, who the heck knows? And every state is totally different. So I don't even know that we can answer every question about Colorado. But we could certainly try. So ask questions, put comments, give advice. And as long as the advice doesn't include going back to work, we'd be open. So thanks for watching.
Take care.